In this video, I'm going to share with you my opinion on why I think it makes total sense to be an atheist in the modern world. Huge disclaimer, I am not an atheist. This is for our new viewers. Welcome aboard, by the way. I am a theist, and this channel, this YouTube channel here, is deeply rooted in spiritual principles. That being said, if I was to zoom out and just sort of observe this world and observe where we're coming from, the past, the present, the future, it makes total sense for the modern human to turn into atheism, and it makes total sense to stay an atheist. So I do want to share with you my opinion on this, my understanding. I've got 3 reasons for it. So let's get started here. Reason number 1, for many of us, not for all of us, but for many of us, we grew up under a specific religion. We grew up doing the rituals, we attended the church, the mosque, the temple, the synagogue, and so we adopted the belief systems of these religions. And as we grew older, we began to really smell the bullshit. Really, I mean, that smells like bullshit. And as we began to smell the bullshit, and as we began to, look into the history of some of the religions that we grew up under, and as we began to, actually read some of these scriptures and see the insanity in it, refer to some of my videos on the cult of Islam. Like, for instance, beating your wife. You can beat your wife. If you have sex outside of marriage, you get 100 lashes, and you can also get stoned to death. I mean, there's so many ridiculous things. That's just the cult of Islam. That's the cult that I grew up under. But that applies to pretty much most other religions too. There are lots of absurd rituals, absurd scripture, absurd belief systems, lots of separation. The Jews think they're God's chosen people. The Muslims think it's okay to beat your wife and kill the infidels, and think everyone that's not Muslim is going to hell. The Hindus have got the caste system, right? Where you have the poor class, and pretty much you just teach them how to accept, hey, this is your caste, this is your destiny, you're here to stay poor, etc., etc., etc. Okay, now I know a lot of people are saying, no, but you're misinterpreting this. Oh no, this. Okay, look. All these fundamentalist people defending their lies, their belief systems, they're the same as someone who bought something really expensive and it didn't turn out to be as good and is justifying the purchase. Like, have you ever went out for dinner and bought like a $50 dinner, and then they give you this little plate, and then you're like, what the fuck? I paid $50 for this? And then you started eating it, and then you began to justify the purchase. So you're like, wow, this is really delicious. Oh my god. And you're just justifying it, even though deep down you're like, what the fuck? I just got scammed. So most people defending these ridiculous, absurd things in their religion are just doing it because they want to justify the purchase, because they got bought into this lie and they don't want to admit that their entire life was in vain. Anyway, that's for a different video, all right? But my point being, it's quite logical once you grow up under an absurd belief system to just be like, okay, I'm scared away from the concept of God. We don't even know. There's, we're just taking someone's word here. I never experienced God for myself. I'm just gonna believe there's no God. I mean, there's no harm in that belief. It's just there's no God, right? It's not like you're harming anyone. I mean, a lot of these religions, and not all religions, I'm not talking about all religions, but a lot of the major ones. I can definitely speak on the behalf of the cult of Islam, for sure. I know this cult in and out. It's a violent belief system. It's intolerant of others. It's absurd. It's just so outdated. You see? So it's pretty logical to say, well, okay, all right, I've grew up adopting all these lies under the name of God. Well, what I'm trying to say, it's a good starting point to say there is no God. From there on, you can go on for the rest of your life taking on that belief. It's a pretty non-harmful belief. It's much better belief than there is God and I'm fighting against all the other, everyone else that doesn't believe in my God is an infidel, is a nasty human being, and it's a better belief to say there is no God. So it's a good starting point. It's a very logical starting point, coming from those types of backgrounds that many of us have come from. Very logical. You just start saying, all right, there's no God. I have no proof. Never experienced God for myself. Why am I taking the word of a pedophile? In the case of Uncle Mo, why am I taking his word that there is God? There is no God. So it's pretty logical. It's pretty logical, coming from some of the absurdity many of us have come from, the absurd belief systems and their restrictions and everything. Pretty logical. All right, that's reason number one. Reason number two, it doesn't harm anybody. There's no harm. There is no inherent harm in the personal belief that I don't believe there is a force, there is a God. You're not harming anyone with that. Now, there are religions, there is no harm in believing, like Jainism. Jainism is the true religion of peace, by the way. Jains are peaceful almost to a flaw, actually. You know, they're so careful, they don't want to step on an ant. You know, it's like they're very, very careful. They don't want to kill even like a little fly. If they got mosquitoes on them, they just let them be. They don't do anything about it. They don't squash them, right? I admire that, right? So I'm not talking, oh, if you believe in a religion, it must be like that. But I'm talking a lot of the big religions, a lot of the big world religions right now. There is some kind of absurdity to them, right? Some kind of a harm, okay? So yeah, so there's no harm. You're not harming anybody. As long as you're not harming anybody, that's the golden rule. You know, don't do harm to anybody. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't harm nobody, just mind your own business. And so there's no harm in that belief system. Again, if you're coexisting with your fellow humans, with your fellow animals and plants in a peaceful manner, does it really matter if you believe in a God or if you don't believe in a God? It doesn't matter. So this point, my point being in this case, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, which brings me to number 3. And this for me is the meat and the butter of this video. If you're a kind person, that's all that matters. Now, I'm gonna insert my bias into this video. Okay, so if you're an atheist watching this, just bear with this bias. My bias. I'm a theist. I believe in a higher power. I believe in a benevolent force that created this universe, created this existence, supervises it, and is wiser beyond our comprehension, okay? And I'm going to tell you something about this force that I believe in. It's akin to the force, the concept of the force in Star Wars, okay? This force loves you. And most of all, and most importantly, this force just wants you to be kind. That's it. This force preaches kindness. This force preaches love. And if you're a kind person, the force that I believe in doesn't care what your beliefs are. It doesn't care if you're a Jain, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Jew, if you're a Hindu, if you're anything. Okay? It really doesn't care. All it wants is it wants kindness. It preaches kindness, and it wants to see its creation acting in kindness to you know, I'm gonna quote Jesus here because, you know, I think he's a pretty cool guy. All right, he says, "What to you I tell you, love one another, be kind to thy neighbor." Right? That's look, that's the meat and the butter of it. And look, if you're a religious person, and that's you're completely tolerant of others. Just do you, continue being you, right? Because that's all that force that I believe in, that I don't believe in, I know it exists. That's all that it cares for. Kindness. That's it, kindness. If you're a kind person, but you don't believe in God, my version of God, doesn't care that you don't believe in it. This isn't the Allah, the Muslim God, or the Old Testament God, the jealous, like you must believe in me and only me, oh, how dare you don't believe in me, No, this is not the force. This is not the God that I know exists. Okay, the God that I know exists, and again, my atheist friends, bear with me. This is inserting my bias, but it's just about kindness. That's it. And if you're a kind person, And you know something? You have nothing to lose as an atheist, because if you just act in kindness, and if it turns out there is something that happens after we die, you're going to be on the good side of things, believe me, my friend. So you're really, again, as an atheist, you know, that's why for me it makes sense to be an atheist in the modern world. You've got nothing to lose. You really, as long as you're a kind person, and you know what, many atheists are, especially coming from the types of backgrounds that atheists come from, right? The kinds of households they've grown up in, and the kinds of beliefs that they've been put into their heads, the kinds of violence some of them have experienced. Because a lot of atheists used to be in ultra religious backgrounds. There is a tendency, not everyone, but there's a tendency. Atheists tend to be kind people. I knew many atheists back in the day. In fact, I was an atheist for a few years, so I hang out around atheists, a lot of atheists also, and that's all that matters, my friends. Kindness. Okay, that's about it. If you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.